Hello, hello. This is Julia Wahl speaking, and today I would like to introduce myself and this podcast as well. Just a brief introduction, so do not worry. And yes, I know yet another podcast, and this one is called "How to Live." But please do not worry. It's not about me trying to impose any answers, trying to tell you how to live. It's more about the question, in fact, than the answer or answers. So, are we looking at this question with the help of many, I believe, fascinating, inspiring people, experts in their various fields, people from various walks of life. So, psychologists. Philosophers, psychotherapists, anthropologists, but also authors and journalists. And I'll be trying to ask them this question and see what they have to say about it. And on my list here, I have some, as I already mentioned, inspiring people. So, for instance, Paul Gilbert, Paul, who's the founder of CFT, and CFT stands for Compassion Focused Therapy. So we'll be talking all things compassion. So, what compassion is, what it isn't, and why it is important, not only in the field of psychotherapy. Also, Wendy Wu, who's another CFT expert, practitioner, and we have Bernard Guerin from Australia. So, social contextual analysis, what that is, and why this is important in terms of also our psychotherapeutic practice, but not only. David Loy. So David will be telling us more about what Buddhist is and maybe what it should be these days and what eco-dharma is. So his let's say latest interest or activities are actually around that topic, eco-dharma, or also another topic that we'll be discussing together with David, the ecological, let's call it by its name, ecological crisis. Uh, who else do we have here? Anke Richter. Anke, who's a German journalist, but based in New Zealand, and she is an investigative journalist. And I'll be asking Anke about cults, because that's what her latest book is about. Called Trips Called Trip. That's the title of the book, so I highly recommend it. So why it is important for us all actually to learn more about cults. Why it's important to generally learn more about how groups work and what constitutes a cult. So these are some of my inspiring guests, and obviously that's not the whole list. But I'll be telling you more about all the future guests in the near future. But I should also introduce myself a little bit. So I am Julia Wahl. That's my full name, and I happen to have a PhD in psychology. Yes, I do confess I am a psychologist. I also specialize in mindfulness and compassion. And I teach academically, so I'm a lecturer. And whew, enough about me. So let's get well to the next topic, because again, today I would like to, as an introduction to this podcast, I would like to not only tell you about the guests, the people who will be on this podcast, the topics that will be mentioned here. I've already told you a little bit about myself. Maybe I should also add to that I am interested in eco psychology, ecotherapy, so the therapeutic practice of eco psychology and psychology of sustainability. Um, and the main premise of this podcast is for us to become more inspired, and also more inspired in terms of our critical thinking. So even when it comes to mindfulness and compassion, so the things that I am personally interested in, I would like to critically examine it, and I would like to examine certain concepts or slogans that are quite popular these days, like here and now. I'll yeah, let's do another confession. I absolutely at times hate this slogan, and not because I believe it's a bad slogan in itself, but because of how it is misunderstood, or maybe even misused. Because here and now, okay, let's get into that, but we'll have more on that topic and other topics later in our future podcasts and our future meetings. But yes, here and now, for instance, it's at times just as problematic as us being stuck in the past or us only thinking about the future. So it's actually about taking into account our past histories, past experiences, planning for the future, whilst being able to see what is currently happening, what's happening in the present moment. So it's actually this whole thing about mindfulness. Because that's the main association quite often that we have when it comes to mindfulness, that it's about here and now. So if it's here and now, if it's understood correctly, it's actually about embracing all these different circumstances, so the past, the present, and the future. It's not fixating on the on just the one mode, let's say. So another term that I'm not a big fan of, or maybe I have problems with, to put it bluntly, is being authentic. So authenticity. So there's this great German-based, Korean but German-based philosopher, thinker, Han, and Han writes in his book that, or books, because there are many, he's a prolific writer, that being authentic is at times about us well, living in a void that we do not take into account the existence of others, and well, and actually, and then this is not only Han saying, but current day researchers, that even the social masks we have, that's what we call these social behaviors, with social facade. That's It's a mask. Well, that's part of who we are. So there are different. It's just that there are different cells. It's not that one isn't true. It's also true. It's part of who we are. But yeah, more about why I don't like the slogan of being authentic. I'll tell you more about it later, and we'll be quoting Han, actually. Yeah, so these are some of the things we'll be looking at. So critically thinking at psychology, psychotherapy, but also maybe inspiring inspiring, integrating psychology and other disciplines with anthropology, with sociology. So being more inter or transdisciplinary, or as Bernard Guerin he used the term disciplinary. So it's not about just the one discipline. It's about us being able. It's not that we are. And we can be experts in all of these things, fields or disciplines. So, but being at least aware of these different perspectives, and that our, let's say, psychological or sociological or medical or any other perspective, it's just one of the perspectives. And just taking into account being able to relate to other mindsets, other perspectives, other concepts, not just being stuck in this one version of what we think is true. So being more skeptical in a good way. So we are pro science, but science is about always evaluating. So it's not to say that oh, okay, so now we know that this is no longer true. So it means that science is shite. Pardon my French, but it just means that. Now we have more data, we have more evidence. So actually, we need to change this theory, either completely or just bits and pieces. So what and one of my colleagues calls kind skepticism. So it's not about me being arrogant, trying to prove something. That wouldn't be wise. That would be narcissistic. That wouldn't be necessarily very helpful. But just being open whilst also being skeptical, being open even to the idea that I may be wrong. So it's not about only others being wrong, because yes, obviously we're always right. So that's the main premise, inspiring us all to be more critical, becoming critical thinkers. And I also, yes, the first confession. Another reason why I'm doing this podcast is for my own personal pleasure, because I'll have the pleasure of interviewing, spending time with some great minds, interesting and also kind people, kind enough to share their knowledge and their time with me, and hopefully you as well. And so I would like to welcome you to this space, and I'll try to have as many interviews as possible, instead of me just doing these monologues, because that is very challenging for me, and I think that it's so much more interesting to be able to have conversations, and maybe on that basis later say a few things. But first, let's establish this space of dialogue, of conversation, and once that's set up, we can reflect on what we think about these ideas. Maybe it'll inspire us to do a bit more research, and to have more conversations. Also in our personal lives. So welcome. So just a brief introduction to today, and wishing you all the best. Julia Wahl in her podcast, How to Live. All the best to you.